I'm your host, Andy Chamberlain, and I take you behind the scenes with growers who share their strategy for achieving the triple bottom line of sustainability. These interviews unravel how farmers are building their business to balance success across people, profits, and our planet. Today's episode comes to you from Hatfield, Massachusetts, where we visit with Harrison Bardwell of Bardwell Farm. We start off the episode with a tour of his greenhouses and check out a few of his experiments this year with early peppers and overwintered onions. After that, he shares his background that equipped him to build up and manage a 30-acre vegetable business, all while being in his mid-20s.
So my name's Harrison Bardwell. I'm owner of Bardwell Farm here in Hatfield, Massachusetts. We're a 30-acre diversified vegetable farm, growing over 40 different types of vegetables. And we're year-round production now, high tunnels and field work. So.
And this is the Farmer's Share.
I just did a UMass tour here, actually. UMass Amherst, one of my former professors, actually, she started doing classes here like 3 years ago. So I've got like 2 or 3 UMass classes that come here every year now. So
nice.
we do a nice tour and whatnot. So yeah.
You're warmed up for it then.
I'm good at public speaking. I like doing it.
Good.
I like sharing about what we do here. So.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah. We can, I don't know, we'll start down in the greenhouses or something.
Yeah.
And I know, I wish the sun was out because it makes things look so much prettier. But we're just getting going. We picked asparagus this morning.
Ooh.
Which that's finally coming. We got like 50 bunches. We got like a half acre across the river there. So that was nice. Well, this is our propagation house. I hear you say that a lot in your videos there. We actually built this. This is our 4th season in here, and it's where we do all our vegetable starts. But these hanging pots right here, we're actually just starting. We're gonna start putting out today. These are Proven Winners collection.
Yep.
They're different combo baskets, but this has been something we've been trying to do to fill the space of the greenhouse to utilize the heat in the spring with how much propane's costing. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we're filling up. We're trying to get into the field now. So.
No, this is pretty. I love it too because it's so bright and colorful.
Yeah. The smell in here when you walk in with the flowers is just lightens you up. So.
Exactly.
That's been fun. We've been in here. We start in here in 1st of March. So, but we'll plant in here all the way till mid-September.
Yeah.
High tunnel winter greens and things. So
you plant in the soil in here too. It's not just a prop house.
No, this one's just a prop house.
Oh, okay.
We'll continue walking down.
Yeah.
Those will transition into high tunnels, but I'll show you these peppers. I'll explain those in a little bit, but that was an experiment pretty much I trialed this year. And it worked, but now we've got a lot of, those are actually stock over. We had a lot of extra stock over. So we're trying to see if we're gonna put those in the field or try to sell them. It's funny, we pack all these flowers in here and then they start getting bigger and bigger and it actually starts shading out the transplants a little bit. So then I start dealing with like leggy plants. So it's time to start pulling these out and selling them.
Right.
Opening some sunlight up into here again. But we're getting there.
I see you've got like a little wagon roadside stand. So do you bring those out there? Or do you let customers back here right into the greenhouse?
Yeah, so we actually just set up the frame the other day, but yeah, we'll pull all these flowers out and we'll just keep filling and stocking that stand. That little road, we can go up there later. That little roadside farm stand's how I began my business like 8 years ago, and we actually still use it in the spring for when we have smaller stuff. Come June time, we actually set up a pretty large tent. It's like a 20 by 30 tent, and we have a pretty good display for retail. Yeah. So that's cool. This is our high tunnel number 2, we call it. This is the second high tunnel we built. This structure is about 3 or 4 years old now, and we just actually planted these tomatoes not last week, the week before, so just about 2 weeks ago. These are all hybrid determinate red slicing tomatoes. I'm trying a staked system in here with like a basket weave this year on these, because we figured that we've realized that we don't have time to trellis like multiple rows of tomatoes a week. We don't have the staffing to do it, and it just takes too much time.
Yeah.
But I told myself I'm not growing a field tomato outside this year because we have terrible luck. Every year is just terrible, and the quality of tomatoes we get out of these tunnels is just worlds of difference. So we're I don't know, it's my first year trialing that, seeing what we get for yield out of that versus the field, and go from there. But
I haven't seen too many growers in the Northeast with tomatoes in the field.
yeah,
It's like they're in a high tunnel, or
I haven't
they don't bother.
I haven't had the space to be able to do that, and we're finally increasing our high tunnel capacity, so I'm able to do that. But yeah, I mean, even last year with the drought, we went from no rain to 5 inches in one day, and we had a whole tomato crop that just split. You know, cracks within 2 days, and it was just like, so I'm like, I'm sick of that. You lose so much yield out of that, and
Yeah.
so now we're transitioning with this, but we do like a heavy rotation where it's winter production right into summer production.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this one tunnel here. None of these are heated, so we're basically trying to grow those bigger plants in the greenhouse, get them in here earlier. This one we actually just reskinned completely. I'll show you. The inside's the same as the other one.
Yeah.
We've got more tomatoes, but
Another ledgewood full of tomatoes.
yeah. Yeah, we started working with Ed, 5 years ago, and I mean, I just think it's a really simple design.
Yeah.
It's really easy, and you know, we've kind of manipulated the end walls to what we want to have our own design. But I think it's an affordable price, and
it's fully covered by the NRCS program.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing.
that's the nice thing, because I've done quotes from other places where it's like, you know, Rimall is like $50,000 to build one of these. This is something cool I want to show you. I don't know if a lot of guys are doing this, but I've started experimenting. So this top layer is just regular poly plastic. You got the double layer here, but we actually have another channel here now, and this is that woven poly plastic. And this stuff's supposed to have like a 10-year life on it, and this is only 4 to 5. So this, I feel like it's a little stronger material, and it'll last a little longer, especially in wind and in the rolling up and down consistently. But we only have to change this once every 2 times. We have to change this, so
Makes it a little easier to skin.
yeah, and it's easier to deal with. You're not dealing with bigger pieces of plastic down to the ground and having to deal with, you know, not ruining the end, you know, the roll-up side parts, walking on it and holding it, and so I'm happy with that. We're learning right now. We have a double channel here, and we actually have water seeping in this channel, so we're trying to seal this up with caulk or something to mitigate that. We're still kind of experimenting on what's working, but we tried that with the big high tunnel. We'll walk out there next. But yeah, we've gotten pretty good at this so far. We've skinned five greenhouses now. I pulled the plastic off myself one evening, and and yeah, we got it reskinned within 2 days. It was funny because we ripped all our high tunnel winter greens out. I de-skinned it on like a Wednesday. We had it fully reskinned everything Saturday, and we were planting by next Wednesday. And in between, I was prepping.
Full flippage.
Yeah, so.
This doesn't help you now, but I know there's a company that makes a double track channel.
So we used that on that greenhouse, and it worked, but we already had the single channel here.
Yeah, right.
And so I'm like, you know, I could have ripped it all off and then put the double on, but I'm like, what, you know, it'll work. And but now I'm kind of like, maybe it won't work. So, so we're learning still. We're getting there.
No, I like that.
My father loves his grass, so we try to keep the property pretty maintained. We just got a couple new wells put in we're working with NRCS on a lot of well irrigation projects. And this is a new 4-inch well we just put in, and been learning a lot about development of wells and cleaning them out so you can get the most gallons per minute flow.
Interesting.
And so we've got 2 here. We started at like 50 gallons a minute, and we've worked our way up to like 100 gallons a minute.
Whoa.
Just by cleaning out the wells. So that was pretty cool. I'm trying lettuce on plastic this year. This is actually, Salvanova?
Yeah.
You ever heard of that variety?
Yeah.
So we're trying this on plastic at a high density for salad mix, and hoping that we can harvest it more than once by cutting it a little higher and letting it regrow, hopefully another time. So I'm experimenting with that, and then I've got a small romaine. It's like a baby romaine. I'm gonna trial to do a similar thing as a cut and come again. I have no clue how it's gonna work, but that's what we're doing. I just got a brand new, I got a new to me, 14 years old Rainflow plastic layer.
Yeah.
And the thing's it laid less than an acre of plastic in its whole life. It's brand new. Yeah, it's sitting over there. We can go look at it, but I found it.
It's not too many things to like wear out on those anyways.
Yeah, it's showroom. Like the paint is still like pristine.
Nice.
We can we'll walk down
This
here.
is a big tunnel.
Yeah, this is a 200 footer we just put up last fall. This was through a NRCS project. Yeah, we had the space and the capacity, so I said I want something bigger because we've got the area to do it now.
Yeah.
And we don't have power out here yet, which is we're working on, but we do have the double layer, and we got the separate roll-up side on this now. But we adapted or adopted the full-length roll-up door system that Queens Greens has that in our area, and then is it Footprint Farm up in Vermont?
Old Road.
Old Road, yeah. I actually reached out to him to get some advice on building it too.
So that's the Baylor end wall.
Yeah, and honestly, it wasn't that hard to construct once we figured it out what we needed to do.
So what's the brand of this tunnel?
This is a Ledgewood as well. Okay. Yeah. It's kind of hard to see in here, but these are we've got 3,000, almost 3,000 high tunnel colored peppers in here, and you can walk in here quick if you want.
3,000 peppers.
Yeah, we planted these on April 19th that week. Took us about 8 hours with 4 or 5 people. So what I was telling you about in the greenhouse earlier, the experiment I was trying is I wanted to get a bigger established plant going earlier in the season, but these weren't heated, so we weren't able to plant them in here early. So I kind of did the reverse of growing them bigger in the greenhouse and then transplanting a bigger plant in the high tunnel, so we can kind of get an earlier production, if you will. But these were actually seeded in the greenhouse in the middle of January.
Whoa!
And we grew them, and I transplanted them into 128 cells and let them grow to a size, and then we transplanted them into those. They're like 30 cell trays that you saw in the greenhouse. But we had these have actually grown a little bit since then, but they were a pepper plant. And they're already starting to flower, some of them actually. So we're hopefully, I want to be a month ahead of the field production-wise is my goal. So we'll see.
Well, this will be fun.
Yeah, it's new. So there's 3,000 plants in here. We're gonna stake all these, and then we're gonna kind of basket weave them because we're gonna kind of train them hopefully to grow a little taller and vertical and not as bushy. But yeah, so
you're mulching them with straw.
Yeah, we people are like, why don't you lay black plastic? And I'd like to, but I don't have the machinery to do it, and I get worried about the drip tape getting moved around or broken or cut under the plastic. And we work with a farm down the road who does a lot of straw, and we get a pretty good deal on it, and we can recycle the straw into other things after. So I don't know, we're still kind of figuring out the cost effectiveness of it, but it does a pretty good job of holding the weeds. We did this last year in our other tunnel, and it worked pretty well. So,
Yeah.
And they're,
Well, and of course, you've got your drip irrigation here too, so you're not like flooding the whole walkways. So
yeah,
you know, you don't have to worry about a flush of weeds everywhere.
yeah, which is nice. And so they're just mulching between the plants right now.
Okay.
We're kind of leaving the walkways bare, because I assume we'll probably be walking on it quite a bit, and that'll knock out a lot of the weeds. But my goal is to have a small tractor to be able to manage high tunnel stuff now, because we can physically drive in and out of these,
Yeah.
where other ones aren't really able to do that.
I've seen a couple of these newer ledgewoods that are beefed up from
Yeah.
your other one. Like it's taller and the pipes are bigger diameter too, aren't they?
Yeah, so this is actually a foot taller than that other tunnel. So we could drive through with the tractor, and that gave us the perfect height. The other thing is, it's such a long tunnel, I wanted more head space to be able to flow that hot air and get more airflow. Our sides roll up another foot more than the other ones can, and so I'm really curious like you can definitely tell the air sits in this one a lot more, because it's so long and there's no circulation fans to help move that air along.
Yep.
We'll see. It's going to be an experiment. We're either going to deal with a lot of disease pressure come August, or I'm hoping with these big end wall doors and the sides, it'll be able to just ventilate itself.
Yeah, I mean you can get 5-6 foot of ventilation all the way around. That's quite a bit.
Yeah. So we're experimenting. I have no clue how it's going to work or what's going to happen. But
Well, I don't think it'll be too bad.
yeah, we've got this one. We've got a new one that just got delivered a couple weeks ago.
Oh wow.
So we've got that going up. Soon, has to be done by September. Which we actually built this. We started this one in July, and we had to finish that by like mid-September last year. We cranked it out and got it done. It was a push. So this is a crop I always like to show people. You know what these are?
Well, they're an onion of some sort.
Yeah. So these are an overwintered onion.
Okay.
They're a specific variety. We've got Bridger and Desert Sunrise. It's a yellow and a red. And these are actually planted they're planted the previous year. We start seeding them in the greenhouse in August. We'll seed them, and then they get transplanted out in the field in September, and they grow a little bit, establish themselves a little bit. And then once the season rolls around, once the season starts winding down, I should say, and it's getting colder, we cover these with low tunnels. So we're hooping them, and then we're putting a layer of remay over. And then once it gets colder, like late November into December, we're actually putting plastic over these, and we're sandbagging the crap out of it. And so there's some labor into it, but we're able to get we've got a nice full-sized onion, and these are still growing.
Yeah, they're coming along.
So these will still growing, but the cool thing about this product, we'll peel down these outer layers here, and there's a really nice color underneath, which is great. But we're able to use this whole plant. You can use these as like a scallion, and then you got like a sweeter onion here. And the even cooler part, so this is the first product. So we'll sell these in threes as a bunch for market. And then these are technically a storage onion. So when they get to their maturity, they'll start acting like a regular onion. They'll start falling over and turning into a storage onion. So
you pick them a little early for fresh?
Yep.
Yep.
And so we try to sell them as much as we can this way, but we end up, it was kind of partly my goal, but we'll end up having probably a little bit extra to sell as like a storage onion, so people can put them in their pantry or something for a couple weeks. But we can have a full-size storage onion in like June that will hold for like 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a multi-use crop. You can get a couple different types of harvests out of them, but we're getting wholesale almost $1 an onion right now, which is just like, to me, it's crazy.
Wholesale, that sounds like pretty good pricing.
Yeah. So, and they're a great flavor. I like to show people this. This is my fourth year doing this, and we've kind of perfected the system every year.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a good way to increase your revenue early in the season, especially when we're not making as much, obviously.
Right.
So it's always something to think about. That's that. We got some transplants in the ground over there that we just seeded a couple settings of broccoli and cauliflower and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But nothing's moving. It's been chilly. It's been very chilly. So.
How much land are you growing on?
So we're 30 acres. We've got a lot of different fields spread out through town. And then we've got 3 high tunnels we're producing in. So I'm kind of at max capacity right now. I could use a couple more acres, but land down here in the valley is very hard to find. So when you can grab it, you take it. But people are paying upwards to $600 an acre to rent, So
Wow.
So it's difficult to afford. We've got 30 acres we own. I actually rent half of that from my father, and we lease out the other half, and then I rent 15 acres from other people around town. So yeah, so we're 30 acre, we're year-round production now, and we're just slowly scaling that up a little bit, little by little every year.
Yep.
With more high tunnels, and the NRCS programs have been wonderful in that sense to help provide so we can bring in more revenue for the farm.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. So.
What's your average crew size throughout the year?
So typically, in the height of our season, we're running anywhere. Our production crew's around 6 to 8 people.
Yep.
And we're growing those demanding crops like cucumbers and broccoli and sweet corn, things that you're constantly harvesting. This time of year and through the winter, we're running like 3 to 4 people. And then we've got a couple retail and managerial staff. So we're like 10 people in the height of the season, which is quite a bit. But we do a lot of different things by hand still. We don't have like the mechanization of harvesting tools and equipment. We're slowly expanding to that. Yeah, this is the rain flow I got. I picked this up for $2,000. He's like, this is brand new. It doesn't look brand new, but there's nothing wrong with it. It sat for 12 years not being used, and every bolt turned on it.
Yeah.
There's just a little bit of rust, and
yeah, the paint's not even wore off the.
Yeah, I power washed. It was covered in mold and stuff, and I power washed it, and it just it came back to life.
Nice.
It was beautiful. I'm like, that's a good investment.
Yeah, that was a good find. I just picked up a mechanical transplanter.
Oh.
Mechanical transplanter brand plastic layer.
Oh, cool.
It lays it flat.
Okay.
So I'm going to experiment, I think, with bioplastic this year.
Yeah.
Have you used that?
Yeah, we have. We actually, we've been using Bio360 the past 2 years, which I haven't had a problem with. The only thing I've noticed with that we've been getting the thinner stuff, which I think is 0.6 mil, is that if you lay it and you're not planting on it for like a month or two, it actually starts to break down from the sun, and you start losing the plastic on top. At the New England Veg Conference, actually, there was a company there in the trade show, Radical Plastics.
Yep.
I don't know if you came upon them, but I talked to the guy and I was explaining to him what we do, what we're looking to do, and they were selling plastic. They had a new product, and he's like, we're trying to get farms to trial it. Are you interested? And the price was good. And so we picked up 10 rolls, and we're trying that. We just laid some a couple weeks ago, and it laid really good. It's a 1 mil plastic actually. Wow. And the price was, compared to like the Bio360, was like the same price, but 1 mil versus the 6 mil. So that was pretty neat to do, but we're gonna try that out. I love the bioplastic. It actually breaks down pretty well in the soil. This is a blast cooler we just got through a food safety grant last year. We lack on like cooler infrastructure, pack house infrastructure. We're slowly building that up every year. But we just got that from a food safety grant last year, which is going to help us. We grow like the sweet corn and the broccoli and the stuff we grow. that we need to suck down that field heat really quick, and that cooler is actually designed to be able to suck field heat right out.
So has it got blowers in it and stuff?
Yeah, it's a pretty good sized reefer. You can look at the little farm stand.
Yeah.
Wish I had the flower display out before you came, but this is our little roadside farm stand. We set this up from like mid-April to June, 1st of June, and then we open a big tent like I was telling you.
Yeah.
But we do about $100,000 in sales through this on a given season, which is pretty cool for this little area. But we've been here for 8 years now, so we've been able to establish ourselves decently. And people ask me, "You're going to continue with the farm stand and yada yada?" I said, "This is the heart of my business. This is where I started, and so I'll probably never get rid of it." Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's got good cash flow to support it. So
yeah, we've done well, and we do the marketing. My office manager keeps up with the marketing, and I like to have the community with the conversations with the communities and talking to folks and people around town of what we're growing, how we're growing things, and just having that relationship with people. So we got like 50 to 60 different products out here in a given part of the season, so it gets pretty busy. So, but yeah, we'll be filling this with flowers in the next hour here.
yeah, it looks like it's gonna get nice this weekend. So.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. Yeah, that's what we look like around here. It's
awesome.
We've got a lot of different fields around that we got a lot of fields around town, so it's kind of hard to travel and show. But
what's the span kind of from one side to the other?
I think our farthest field is it's maybe a 5-minute drive from here, so nothing crazy.
Couple miles.
Yeah, we're a couple miles from each field, which is nice, but they're all so this area is filled with potatoes. There's a lot of potatoes grown around here, and so they take up a lot of the large acreage, the big fields around here, and we're smaller, diversified, so we pick up all the small lots, like the 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre lots, which I don't mind. I like dealing with smaller fields, and we can work around the curves, and
right.
We've got a lot of fields behind people's houses and stuff like that, and I like it because they're spread out, so we're not, we're better at doing the rotation, and spreading things out and having less issues with disease management and pest management. So
While we were checking out the farm stand, he had to look at the iPad to set it up for the day, which they use for their point of sale system.
Yeah, and we run it as like a self-serve through our Square system, and it's not like your legit self-serve system, but it works well because we were a fully manned farm stand prior to COVID and through COVID, and it was really good sales wise, but I think that was partially COVID kind of inflated that, but so we tried the self-serve the year after COVID pretty much settled down, and our sales weren't as good as they were in the past. So, but our credit card sales were 60% of our revenue.
Wow.
So I had to figure out a way, how can we offer credit cards to people, because we were going to be losing a lot still.
Yeah.
And so we came up with this self-serve system where people can pay with a credit card and purchase their things.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of farm stands are doing the self-serve Square system.
Yeah, I don't know if we've mastered it yet, but we don't seem to have issues with it. So,
where are you doing your wash pack stuff now?
It was that barn. We didn't really go in there, but we've got a tobacco barn. We've kind of converted into a pack house. We've got a wash line in there and a wash table and some lights. It's very, very antiquated and minimal, but it's sure as hell better than working outside. So
For sure.
that's what we're working on, investing in infrastructure for post-harvest things. But to build we're at the point where it's like we've got to build an actual building, and we're talking $1 million to do that. So
right.
we're we're not quite there yet.
With 30 acres of veg, you're moving a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so we definitely are way oversized for the space we have, but blessed to have a indoor space we can use.
Yeah.
And, well, we pump a lot of produce out of that little
You
barn.
wholesaling a lot, or?
Yeah, we so in the past years we were doing CSA, farmers markets, wholesale, farm stand, and we just ran into too many issues with not enough help and people calling out, and CSA wasn't doing that great, and our wholesale was just kind of steadily picking up. So I made the hard decision last winter pretty much, and I said we're cutting out the CSA, we're cutting out the farmers markets, and we're just doing wholesale and the farm stand. So that's kind of our...
So that's new this year.
Yeah, which is... I'm kind of looking forward to it because the CSA and the farmers markets was a lot of added stress that we were dealing with every week, and it was disorganized because we didn't have the proper people to help manage it.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of like, we're recircling back to our roots, if you will, and kind of starting there. And if things work out more in the future, we got better help and staffing, then maybe we'll consider. But our wholesale did really well last year, and it's expanding more. We've gained a couple new customers this year, and hopefully going to retain. So that's where I see us grooving and moving. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It's kind of another trial. Every year is a trial year with something. See what works, what doesn't. But
You're 8 years in, you said now?
yeah, I established in 2016.
Yeah.
The farm's been here since 1685. So I'm like 9th generation, but the business is pretty much is like partially retired when I picked it back up, and it was like large scale field corn and tobacco when it kind of retired. So I've kind of like full circle changed the model, changed the business, changed the crops. So that's why we're dealing with a lot of infrastructure that's not built for what I'm doing now.
Were they still growing tobacco when you grabbed the reins in 16?
They were not. No, that was probably that went out in like the 90s, I think. The last crops that they were growing here were like field corn and sweet corn and things like that. Yeah. My grandparents had a good sized vegetable garden that they were growing in, and that's kind of where I started learning and diving in. But yeah, I remember my vaguest memory of the farm actually in production. I was like 4 years old, sitting on my father's lap, and that whole field out there was all sweet corn. I was out cultivating sweet corn with him on the tractor. So that was 4. So that was like 2000, and so slowly after that, it slowed down for a good couple years, and I don't know. I tell people, I don't think the farm ever stopped because there was always farming going on.
Yeah, there's always something going on.
But yeah, so that's where we're in a lot of building and improving infrastructure to a diversified vegetable farm. Yeah. Where it was just a large scale, like not large, but it was more of a grain type business at that point, which requires different infrastructure, different equipment, different all that. So I was blessed with land and some equipment and some infrastructure, but there's a lot more. I envision wanting and needing here to make the business where I want it to go, I guess. Yeah.
Are you planning to scale it up more so than it is, or kind of?
Yeah, I think my max is to be at like 40 to 50 acres someday, and
so keep finding other land around.
Yeah, I'm at capacity with like the 30 acres like that I can physically handle myself right now. So our goal is to, if the wholesale starts increasing, maybe increase acreage a little bit more. But I got to find like a manager that can help in the field production stuff. That way I can split up the tasks and do a little bit of everything.
You want to get to 40, 50 acres to meet an income goal?
Yeah, I think, a little bit of both. And scale-wise, 30 acres is good size, but we still grow a lot of, I've realized over the years growing like 100-foot bed of this and having 50 different varieties is just not economical. And so I'm trying to figure out ways to, we grow a lot of different things, so either scaling everything to a point where it's just more economical and I guess sustainable, and I guess the flow of how things are done, it takes the same amount of time to set up the transplanter and get the water ready and get the plants on the trailer as it does to plant 200 feet versus an acre,
Right.
So, if you're taking that same amount of time to go plant only 200 feet, you're wasting so much where you can just get that extra volume there and, push that out. So that's kind of where I'm going. And my end goal is to have maybe a different location farm stand and have a pretty decent farm stand too. So we're
like adding another site.
Yeah. There's a couple farms in this area that got pretty decent farm stands that might be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. So,
okay, yeah.
There might be opportunity to jump in elsewhere.
For sure.
Maybe not. I've always loved the retail. I really like doing the wholesale now too, but I think there's opportunity for both.
Yeah.
So it's such a rich farming community in this area, and people really love that local, getting that fresh produce. So we try to, a lot of our wholesale customers are within this valley. I like keeping that local knit community and making sure we're delivering a fresh product within, a couple days of harvest. And it really shows with our quality and the product we have. And I think we're able to get a little higher price point for getting that nicer quality, fresher product out the door. So, yeah.
So you mentioned that most of your farm is family land, and then you're leasing certain plots. Have you worked out a formal transition plan, or are you on track to buy the farm, or are you renting from your dad, or what's that?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think we're not there yet.
Yeah.
He's my father. He's mid-60s right now. He's not actually farming, so the farm business is mine. I've got 2 other brothers, so I'm sure it's going to come down to, probably buying out or paying out, someone. But currently, it's a leased agreement, to use the property, to use the land, which I'm very fortunate to have that ability.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the transition is just going to come down to money in the end, and that kind of thing. It's different because it's not like, I listen to a lot of these generational farms where it's getting passed down from the parents down or the grandparents down to the parents, and it's like
there's multiple siblings involved.
Yeah.
It makes it complicated.
I think maybe I'm fortunate in that aspect where we're not, it's just me really. My father absolutely loves the farming, he loves helping, he loves being involved, but at the end of the day, I guess he owns the property and it's my business, and so that's where that separation probably makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he'll live into his 80s or beyond, hopefully.
Yeah, right.
And, so I'll deal with that in a couple of years probably.
Yeah, but no, that's great, and the fact that you don't have to buy the whole farm right now.
Yeah.
You've got some time to get the business underneath you, get that cash flow going, so when the opportunities do come up for this land, neighboring land, whatever.
Yeah.
You're in
definitely.
a good spot to absorb that.
And I think my brothers, they support what I do. They're never going to get into farming, so it's so they're not going to want this, and so I think that's going to make it easier. But, at the end of the day, I'm sure things will get split 3 ways, and you just got to figure that out.
Yeah, you got to be fair, obviously, to
Yeah.
a certain extent.
But, cool. Yeah. So we'll see. We're going year by year here.
Yeah.
Grow a little bit more with this. We figure out what we like doing, what we don't like doing, and really what sticks and what works, and what can we do differently than other people, or what can we get into that not a lot of people are doing, just to get that extra curve, So baby greens is something, winter high tunnel greens, baby greens is something we're really trying to jump into and invest because there's a lot of demand for it right now.
Yeah.
And it's a great revenue source in the winter months when we're not bringing in a lot of income. And it also keeps our crews busy, keeps our staff here, so we're not rehiring and having to retrain. And so that's where my brain's always spinning on what's the next coolest thing we can do, or what's the next best thing we can do, or how can we do this more efficiently and just make it work with what we got. So
yeah. Where'd you learn to farm or run a business?
Yeah, so when I was I guess between the ages of 10 and 12, my grandparents had this pretty decent sized vegetable garden. And at the time I was a kid, I didn't like playing. It was summertime. I didn't like sitting inside playing video games or watching TV. I just loved being outside. And so around that time frame is when I started diving into the vegetable garden. I was always running out there picking vegetables, but I didn't really know what it meant, what it was. And so between that time frame, I started jumping in that vegetable garden with my grandparents, and I really instantly fell in love with plants, the vegetables, the soil, and just working with my hands and kind of playing around. And within those couple of years, I developed an interest and actually started working, and my grandparents started teaching me, how you plant seeds, how we grow crops, how we harvest different things and maintain them. And we were taught, that was where the greenhouses are now.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very small scale. And so I did that for a couple of years, and I got my first job working a tobacco farm in town when I was 14. And I did that for a good couple summers. And just in that time frame from 14 to, I guess, 18, going to college, I was working on farms in town. There was a couple different farms I was working on. And then 2013, 14 is kind of when this was born. The farm stand was reborn. We had too much produce is what was going on for a family. And I remember coming to my grandfather at the back porch with a bucket of cucumbers and saying, "What are we going to do with all these? We can't eat them all, And I had this light bulb. I mean, I was just a kid then.
Yeah.
But I had this light bulb, let's sell them. And so the next year we actually put a little bit of a plan in place, and that's kind of where I say Bardwell Farm was reborn. The next chapter started, but I opened it. It was a little farm stand with literally sawhorses and a piece of plywood, and we started selling produce out front. And my father, the next year or two after that, built this farm stand. He's a Finnish carpenter, which makes life a lot easier around here.
Yeah.
So learning, I went to Stockbridge School of Agriculture in the Sustainable Food and Farming program. I did that for 2 years, got an associate's degree in that. A lot of my education is just working on farms, working with the farmers in this town, just getting that hands-on experience, and doing a lot of outreach, talking to extension services and, other farmers in the area and other farmers in different states, and just learning and developing, figuring out how does this person do that, how does that person do that, and just kind of picking it up. I think the traditional farming in this town is it's a little bit old school. People do things a little bit old school here, and I'm always looking for that new cutting edge of what's going on. And there's a lot of cool farms up your way, that are doing some really neat things, and that's why that's how I learned too, is researching other farms, talking with other farmers, going to that, New England Veg Conference. You get so much out of that kind of stuff. So I don't think I'm ever going to be done learning in this business. I think every year's different, every year's new. There's always something new happening. And there's a million ways to do the same thing. So I see that as that's always getting me the edge of, okay, we we plant broccoli this way. Is there a better way to do it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think we figured out the systems that work well with what we have right now. That could change in 5 years. I don't know. So, but learning, a lot of the learning has just been hands-on and repetition and experience over the years. Running, I didn't know how to run a business when I started. I still don't know how to run a business. We're that's something we're learning every year is managing people and the finances and running the numbers and how the cash flows work. All that stuff was. It amazed me that the Stockbridge program didn't have any classes for running businesses.
Interesting.
Which kind of blew my mind. I wasn't physically able to take. I took one beginner business class in college, and that it edged the surface of nothing to do with farming. I think farm businesses are so unique with how our revenues come in, the times of year, the expenses we have to pay, and a lot of that's just been learning every year of how these types of businesses operate, and I think they're very different than a traditional small run business that's doing the daily. Oh, we're different,
Yeah,
that's the one.
That's for sure. Every farm's a little different too.
Yeah.
That college program was an ag program. Was it about veg farming? Was it about soil? What kind of topics were covered there?
It covered everything, anywhere from soil health to insects, pest disease pressures, disease management, weed management. There was a lot of sustainable growing classes, organic veg classes. I feel like they had a lot of, when I was there, they had a lot of good classes to kind of give you both your conventional IPM and organic side. I think now they're slowly leaning more and more towards organic practices, which is great. But you get a full circle there. And I think I really loved utilizing that because I got the classroom educational side of this is how plants actually grow and develop. These are how insects grow, or
some of that fundamental knowledge that
exactly.
You can't learn by experience so much.
Right. And so, I was able to take that fundamental knowledge and then my hands-on experience and mash it together. Yeah. And that's kind of created who I am now as a person, which I'm thankful for because Stockbridge also gave me I had, in this town, you get the tunnel vision of this is what you learn, this is what you know, this is how everyone does it. And then Stockbridge opened me up to this whole different, this world of farming, that I had never seen before. And that opened my mind to, okay, let's not do the traditional they've done for 60 years here. There's better ways to do things. There's different ways to work, to run the businesses, to run the farm. And the connections I got out of that as well. So
that's really good to hear because I think nowadays with the price of schooling and all that, there's a lot of, maybe I'll just figure it out as I go. Maybe I don't need that 2 to 4 year education. So hearing a good experience like that is a nice contrary, especially for farming, which is a lot like the trades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, for me, the 2-year program was more than enough because I'd been farming already for a couple of years prior. And so I had a lot under my belt. But I think that gave that next step to help. And I suggest to everyone, you need that knowledge. You need to understand how crops are actually developing, the different, your cotyledal stages up to, and, a lot of that's probably buzzed out of my brain by now, but I learned a lot and it helped. And, I think I can only speak to the Stockbridge program. I think, I know Cornell's got a great program. I know UVM and UNH, they've got decent ag programs too, but I think it's helpful,
It helps that educated guess of new experience, new experiments come together. It takes some of the risk out of your really early peppers. because you know how a pepper plant is supposed to grow. Like,
Right.
It's an educated guess. It's not just, let's
just
put 3,000 in a high tunnel and hope for the best, you know?
Right. And that's, I think you got to use that to your ability. And, I know schooling's expensive. I'm still paying off some loans, but, it gave me a lot. Other people might be different, but, it gave me a lot. So, and I see, like, with these UMass classes that come here, is there's a lot of green people, people that have never stepped foot on a farm. They're just interested in it. And I feel like the Stockbridge, that program, like, you're getting that experience of going out on farms and seeing different areas and picking around. And, I think you need that. You can't just jump into farming and think you're going to like it. And I tell people this industry isn't for everyone. You gotta like long hours. You gotta like to work hard and in the heat and in the cold and the rain, and and I think it's always nice to dream, but reality is something big too. Is a way to put it. And I think the ag programs, they give you that sense of, like, if you're really interested in, I see it kid after kid, like, I love growing food. I think it's really interesting, but they've never done it before, Go get that, like, little bit of experience and learn and, figure out, does that work for you, does it not? And I think that's why there's only 2% of the population is farmers or something.
That's right, yeah. Another question is, like, sustainability kind of is on 3 legs: financial sustainability, environmental, and personal. Mm-hmm. What stands out to you about, like, what makes farming sustainable to you?
So financially, we're still working on that leg of things of, like, building up the business. It's a lot of working with your numbers, I think, to really figure out what's the best avenue to go to keep the business afloat, so there's enough cash flow coming in. And, it's really, how can we utilize grants to help improve the business instead of just taking out loans to improve the business? And so, really, like, I work closely with a financial advisor to be able to figure out, how much money are we projected we can bring in, what new crops can we sell, and, how can we, like, right now we're working on how can we bring in more revenue, like, this time of year, where we're not bringing in a lot of income, but we're doing a lot of work, we're paying a lot of bills and whatnot. So kind of finding that bridge of where can we find sources of more income to be able to pay our bills, so we have a more, I guess, level playing year all year. And then environmentally, I guess, we're really working with the soil health, like no-till operations, cover cropping, crop rotation. I think combine that with, like, the year-round production to kind of work with our soil on a more year-round basis, but also, again, to bring in that more revenue stream of year-round production. But, we're also really trying to dive into more no-till or zone-tilled things, with the climate changing and these crazy weather patterns we're dealing with. I'm really interested. I'm like, how can we less disturb our soil, be more efficient in actually getting crops in the ground, and reduce our inputs and our cost and our time, and still be able to grow that same crop and get that same kind of yield. So that's another thing of, like, we don't have $200,000 to go buy all this equipment. So, can we utilize grants, baby steps, what's going to work a little bit year after year, and don't throw everything in one basket and hope for the best. Is, like, try things at a slow rate and see what works for you. And so we're experimenting with that a lot. We've been doing, like, no-till, limited till for a couple of years, and we don't have, like, all the proper equipment, but we're experimenting. Yeah. Some years it works, some years it doesn't. But that's kind of my vision. Is, like, my end goal is to have this farm, like, 85% zone till or no till, and then the rest be in a limited reduced tillage system, because I just see so much benefit with that personally. But
what's your ratio now?
Yeah, we're probably like 70. We're probably 75 conventional, and they're limited no-till. A lot of our sweet corn, our winter squash pumpkins, we're doing on a no-till, limited till basis. The only no-till equipment I really have is a no-till direct seed planter, Mater Mac planter, that video we did.
Yep.
But I really want to invest in a zone tiller, and I'm looking into those stone barriers a lot. I'm trying to figure out how can we reduce our passes, and kind of do more in one. Why do we need to be subsoiling and plowing and perfecting and fertilizing and like incorporate it all into one?
Yep.
And I got guys, there's no way you can do that, yada yada. And I'm like, why not? Has anyone done it?
Got to talk to Trevor. He's got he's got some tools that he can try.
Yeah. So, and then I guess personal sustainability is, I'm not that type of person that can sit inside, especially when the sun's out. Like if it's above 60 degrees and the sun's out, like I'm outside. And so I think, personally for myself, like I feel like I was kind of born to do this because I just love being in nature. I love working with the crops. I love working with the soil. I just it just excites me. And I think I'm at a point where, I always hate to say this because I'm only 26. I've got more capacity to go work on my hands and knees for 8 hours a day than anyone, But I guess I have that ability now where the business is growing, so I'm able to bring in people to
bring in people to do the work that enables the business to grow. At least that's where I think he was heading. Unfortunately, our conversation ended abruptly as he got a call from a crew member and had to step away from our chat. I'm Andy Chamberlain, and that was The Farmer's Share. I found that conversation inspiring, engaging, and thankful for the conversation that we had. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of the free bonus content. You can also visit thefarmersshare.com to check out more episodes and interviews. If you enter your email on our website, you'll get the photos and videos right into your inbox when a new episode comes out. This podcast is supported by the Vermont Vegetable and Berry Growers Association and the Ag Engineering Program of University of Vermont Extension. If you're loving this show, I'd love it if you could leave me a review. It's easier than you might think. In Apple Podcasts, on this show, just scroll down to the bottom, and there you can leave a 5 stars and a comment to help encourage new listeners to tune in. Thanks for listening.